Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Insight Change podcast. Here I have fellow mentee, Erin, former nurse, current coach. Welcome to the Insight Change podcast.
Thank you very much. I'm so excited to be here and to talk about everything I've learned for 52 years that I've been living.
Mm-hmm. I love to see your energy that you bring on. Facebook is where I see it most. I think it's great because it's invigorating, it's inspiring for people, and you have a really cool story in terms of how you evolved into becoming into the fitness industry. So I think I want to start there, Erin. Like, tell those people listening, where did Erin come from? What was the origin story of Erin?
Well, I want to start with a story in fifth grade that really set me up for the rest of my life and how I was going to view the world and handle certain situations. So in fifth or sixth grade, we had something back then called the Presidential Physical Fitness Test. Mm-hmm. And if you were really good at it, you would get the Presidential Physical Fitness Award. So the gym teacher would put us through a series of tests, like a strength test, a flexibility test, a speed, and we had to do sit-ups. So you had to do as many sit-ups as you possibly could in 60 seconds. And so somebody had to hold your feet down, and while you were bending your knees and doing sit-ups as fast as you could. And it was a boy who was holding my feet down. It was the first time in my life that I felt how strong boys are. He was really holding my feet down so I could get those sit-ups in, because you have to keep your feet flat on the ground in order to get the sit-ups, right? And I thought, wow, I just remember feeling how strong his hands were pushing my feet to the ground so that I could go as fast as I possibly could to get as many sit-ups I could in 60 seconds. Well, end up being that I did 60 sit-ups in 60 seconds, which means I did a sit-up every second as a 10-year-old, you know what I mean? And so that the next thing we had to do was pull-ups. And I whipped out 15 pull-ups in front of everybody. I was just doing my thing. I didn't know, I was just being told what to do, and I did it. And then we had to sprint, and I was faster than the boys. Well, little did I know that it pissed off some boys because I was stronger than them. And even as a 10 or 11-year-old, boys can get jealous and mad, right? So there was one boy who used to take me in the back room where we would hang up our closets. And as soon as everybody would leave, he would throw me to the ground and beat me up and put a bunch of the coats on my face, to the point where it's like I was suffocated. And all I could think of was just get off of me. And I had to literally fight. And I'm not a fighter, but I had to literally fight, and I felt like I was suffocating and push him off of me until the teacher would say, what are you guys doing? Get back into your seats. And she wouldn't even notice what was happening. So literally I just had to go about my day just being beat up by a boy, right? And so in the winter, they used to do what's called the whitewash. And so a boy came over to me when we were outside at recess, and it was snowing, and it was a lot of snow on the ground. He pushed me to the ground, and he just kept plowing snow on my face. And I couldn't get up, and he was holding me down. And all of a sudden, everything just went black because I couldn't see, I couldn't hear. And I realized now that I probably blacked out because he just kept me under there and he wouldn't let me up. So there's two major life lessons I learned from those particular events. Happened very young, but it set me up for the direction for what I was going to go through my whole life. Number one is that nobody is coming to save you. Nobody's coming to save you. And in my darkest moments, even as a kid, nobody came to save me, right? And I had to save myself. I had to push through that suffocating feeling in those hard times. I had to get up, and I had to be the one to push those boys off of me, right? And number two, I learned that when you show your talents, when you show your gifts, when you are just doing your thing, there's always going to be somebody who's jealous, who's going to make you look bad, who's going to feel insecure and intimidated by you, and they are going to try to kick you down even when you are already down. So I had to learn those two things at a very, very early age. Unfortunately, it set me up for to hide my light, to hide my talents, to hide my gifts, because I was nervous around people. What were they going to do? Was I going to get beat up? Was I going to look down upon? Was someone going to be intimidated in front of me, because I'm a caring, compassionate, loving person, I never want to make anyone feel bad. So I carried that in my heart my entire life, until just the past few years when, you know what, I am a strong woman. I do what I do. And throughout my life, even though people have been intimidated, it is your responsibility to live your true gifts and your true talents. Because if you don't, that is actually a lie, and you're not living who you truly are. So you always have to live who you truly are, even though there's going to be bullies, even though there's going to be people who don't like you, even though that light that you're shining is going to be too bright for the other people. Those people you don't want in your life, right? And through this mentoring that I'm going through, I am learning to understand that everybody around you has to love you. You have to put people around you that love, respect, and care about you. And all the others who can't handle your light, just let them go, let them go, let them go. So that was the first initiation into my fitness, my strength. But I continued to when I would go outside in my neighborhood, I would literally speed from, just for fun, I would do like run from one mailbox to the next, and then walk, and then run from one mailbox to the next. And then I got into bodybuilding in the 90s, because in the 90s, because I'm 52 years old, they didn't have bikini, they didn't have fitness. They had one class and it was just bodybuilding. And I would go to the gym and people say, you look like you should compete. So, I followed their guidelines. I got a coach and I competed. I came in second in my first bodybuilding show, and I won best poser, and I taught myself to pose. And from there, I competed a couple more times in bodybuilding, and then I went and had family and kids, and I came back to the bikini world in 2017, where I coached myself to a pro card for 2 natural competitions. And I've always been 100% natural, and I'm still competing. I have a show at the end of June for the NPC universe. And I'm coaching now women on how to stay healthy and fit. But the other side is that I've been a nurse for 27 years. So I've been in the medical system, and how I didn't understand how upside down and backwards it was until these past 3 years, right? And so what happened was in 2020, I realized what was going on. I didn't like what was going on, because you have to be an advocate for your patients. You stand up for your patients. You tell them everything that they need to know before you give them any type of medication. And that unfortunately wasn't happening. So I decided to leave my job and speak out about all the nonsense. I was one of the very few nurses speaking out. I started my own podcast. I started interviewing the best of the best in the medical freedom world. I had them on my podcast. I went to give a speech. I was invited on Del Bigtree show, and I was there on January 6th, and I shared the stage with Del Bigtree and the truth about cancer. And then after that, I continued to speak out. I continued to go to rallies and speeches, and I was always the one giving the speeches. But I had to take a step back for that, because I can tell you that it's negative, and it feels like I'm putting all this information out, and I'm using all my emotion and all my knowledge and all my frustrations, but nothing was really getting accomplished. And it kind of felt like I was preaching to the choir, and my message wasn't reaching or changing anything. So I had to take a real long step back and understand that the change starts within me. The change starts within me, in each individual. If we all take individual responsibility for our own health, then we become a community of individuals that are strong, because we all take responsibility for our health. So I took a step back from the so-called activism, and I opened my own personal training business. Me and my husband opened our own personal training studio in the middle of the craziness, and we're doing really amazing. We love what we do, and we really focus on over 40. Most of our clients are over 40, and that's where we're kind of at right now. But I want people to know that if you get a diagnosis, if you are sick, you don't have to follow what your doctor tells you. You don't, because they have a toolbox, right? They know medical, they're an MD medical doctor. but there are other ways for you to heal. So I just want to give you an example. I took care of a man who had a heart transplant, and the only reason why he had a heart transplant was because he never took care of himself. He really ate horribly. Basically his heart failed because of his lifestyle, and so someone else gave him a heart. Now, usually a heart transplant is like a Band-Aid, but I was a home care nurse, so I went to his house. He wouldn't get out of bed unless his doctor told him to. He wouldn't walk unless his doctor didn't told him to. He wouldn't eat unless his doctor told him to eat. And he was stuck in this little box and in this, I'm sorry, it's just a horrible mindset of I can't move until someone else tells me what to do. And I would go and say, hey, you can reverse your heart disease. You can eat all this good food. And I would feel energetic and energized because his eyes would light up. And then the next time I'd go, I'd see his wife would just go to the store and buy, canned food and box mashed potatoes, and nothing ever changed. But I want people to understand that you don't have to listen to your doctor. The doctor is not the authority over your life. You are the authority over your life. You can make decisions without your doctor's permission. Some people say, I can't go back to work till my doctor tells me. I can't go to the gym because my doctor told me not to. I just had a client, she has a pain in her shoulder, and she said, they told me not to do anything for 8 weeks. And I'm like, 8 weeks? And she's been here for 6 months. I said, you're going to ruin all of your gains. You're going to lose your endurance. You're going to lose your strength. Just because your doctor, who doesn't know what he's talking about, he or she says that you have to stay home for 8 weeks. So we have to get rid of the old notion of saying that I can't move forward in my life because the so-called authority told me. Well, the only person who's the authority over your life is you. Yeah. And we have to get back to that. We have to get back to knowing who we are so that we don't have to pretend to rely on someone else so that we can be weak and go backwards in our lives, because we need to move forward. It is a crucial time in history when we all need to go back to nature. We all need to go back to our inner lives. And we all need to take individual responsibility for our health so that all individuals as a community can move forward, because we are slowly losing. And I don't want people to lose. We need to be strong. And unfortunately, the so-called they don't want us to be strong. So that was a long-winded answer to your...
I was gonna say there's a lot there, and I want to kind of go with some of the themes that we talked about. I want to pull some of those strings. But the first question that came to mind when you were talking about how strong you were as a kid, do you know where that came from? Is there a reason you think that you were so much stronger than some of the other people? Were you into sports? Were you had an active lifestyle? Did you work on a farm? Like, tell me about why you think you were just so much stronger than some of these people already.
I think I was just gifted.
Gifted? Okay.
Yeah, I was just gifted. Yeah, I honestly think that, because I'm still strong. Yeah. I tend to have a six-pack all year round, but I do work for it, So yeah, I think that I'm just gifted that way, honestly.
And sort of moving forward with that, but it still inspired you to take this ownership, this responsibility, this realization that as much as there might be people around you who care for you, they're not going to be able to come and save you. They're not going to save you in some instances because they can't or they won't in the teacher's situation here. And I think that really fueled some of the drive that you currently have to help other people understand that we have the ability and the responsibility to take care of ourselves. And just like you're saying with your doctor, sometimes it's like, it might be a convenient thing for your doctors to say, stay home for 8 weeks and don't do anything. You might feel okay, like, oh, I feel better about myself doing nothing. But in the end, it's like, if you're doing something, you're at least getting better. If you're doing some low-level activity with that shoulder, you're going to strengthen it back up again. You might not be able to do the same lifting you were doing the moment before that injury happened, but at the same time, you can still build back up to it. And at some point, you'll be able to do more than you were doing before.
Yeah, so I want people to understand that doctors have to say these things because they can be held liable. So they have to say, don't go to the gym for 8 weeks. Because if you say, well, I went to the gym because my doctor told me to do, and I got hurt, well, then you can turn around and sue him, because everybody is extremely sue happy in the medical field. So that is one reason why they have to say that. The other reason why they would say something like that is because they just don't know. They just don't understand. So I want to go back to one story because it just popped in my mind, and this is very personal, but I'm going to go there because this is something that I've been thinking about putting out into the world, and I'm going to talk about it anyway because it reminds me of taking full responsibility and where we are in the world right now, because we're in a comfort climate and people just want to be comfortable and not do the hard work. So I went to an all-girl Catholic high school and I came out pregnant. I have no idea how that happened. I don't know. But anyways, talking to my family and my friends, and they said abortion is going to be the best thing for you. You need to get an abortion. You're too young. You can't have a baby. You have your whole life ahead of you. So I made an appointment to get an abortion. Okay. I knew I didn't want to do that. I knew that. I already knew that I was a strong, competent, caring, compassionate person. And I knew I didn't want to do that. But nobody was supporting my decision. Everybody was supporting my decision to take the easy way out, Erin. Don't embarrass my mother. You know what I mean? It'll be way too hard. So what's the easy way out is an abortion. Well, I was sitting there one night thinking, I can't do this. This is not who I am. I'm just going to do what my body is naturally going to do. So the next day, I called the abortion clinic, and these 3 words have stuck with me my entire life because it's the only person who supported me in that moment. When I called to cancel the appointment for my abortion, the lady said, "Why are you canceling?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to keep my baby." And she said, "Good for you." And in that moment, I thought, yes, thank you. Somebody supported me. I've never felt that support in all of my life, through getting beat up as a child because I was strong, or making this massive decision I just made. Nobody in my life supported me except those 3 words with that person who was sitting in the abortion clinic, right? So obviously she knew something. So I never, ever went through with it. I now have a daughter who's 33 and a granddaughter who's 6 years old. And I because I didn't take the easy way out. See, society has set us up to take the easy way out. They're saying you can't do that. It's too hard. So anytime anybody wants to start a fitness plan or go to the gym, oh, I work too much. And then your friends are all going to say, yeah, you work too much. You don't have time for that. So they give you the justification that you want to hear, that you can't do it because it's too hard. Well, the harder you work and the harder you work for things, the happier you're going to be in life. Because
the luckier you get too.
The harder you work, the easier life is going to be. But the easier you work and the more comfortable you are, the harder your life is going to be, because you have to put in the hard work to get to the other side, right? And I'm not going to say raising my daughter was easy. Hey guys, I got news for you. Raising kids is not easy. If you're married, if you're single, if you're young, if you're old, raising kids is not an easy job, but we all do it, right? We all do it, and we get immense love from it. Immense, we get back. But society has set us up to, there's an easy way out for everything. So I just wanted to mention that because it's something that has been on my mind lately, and I wanted to share. I know there's a lot going on in the world, and I'm not here to judge anybody about their whatever they have done. This is just my story, and I always look at my experience in my life and see, how can I learn from this to move forward to be a better person, a more caring, loving, compassionate person? How can I learn from each and every experience in my life moving forward? So I do not judge anybody, because as a nurse, I've had to take care of prisoners who spit at me and still take care of them. You know what I mean? I've had to take care of drug addicts and poor people, rich people. I've had 27 years of caring for people, so I do not judge anybody. But I can tell you that we're at a scary point in society right now where nobody wants to put in the hard work.
No.
And that will take us backwards, because we do have to work hard to live a beautiful life.
Mhm. And I think fitness really shows you that, like, sometimes putting in the hard work and going through the steps, feeling the pain helps you to get to something you want in the future. And in the moment, it's not maybe something that you want. You don't want to feel discomfort. You don't want to feel that burning, that pain, that mind voice screaming at you to stop. But it becomes that much more worth it when you do overcome it and end up on the other side.
Yeah, and it's the hardest thing, because I deal with women over the age of 40 and they want quick results. So I've never heard of a fascia blaster until I had a client come and tell me that
A what?
she tried fascia blaster to get rid of her cellulite. And I was like, what the heck is fascia blaster? You know,
Yeah.
it's supposed to be this quick thing that you rub all over your skin or something. I still don't know what it is. But, you know, it's that so-called quick fix so that you don't have to put the hard work in. But I can also tell you that women will come and work out, right? But it's really the nutrition. They can't seem to dial it in because they don't want to work hard at it. There's few people who are willing to do the work with the food.
Yeah, it is the hardest part,
You
like you're
know,
saying.
and it's really, it is fitness is the easy part, fitness is the fun part, but you still have to put the work in to get to the other side. But you can't have one without the other. You can't have bad nutrition and a good workout. You can't have a bad workout and good nutrition. You have to have both. It's a combination of nutrition and exercise that will get you to the other side. That's going to get you a beautiful physique. That's going to get you a beautiful life. You're going to have the happy hormones released from 1 hour of exercise. They are going to be released for 12 hours. That is a clinically proven fact, that all the happy hormones are swimming throughout your body after 1 hour of exercise. It's your natural Prozac. Okay. So especially women going through menopause, where our moods are up and down, you've got to get your exercise and your strength training in to be a happy person. It's really that simple. And then people who get sad and depressed and lonely, they're stuffing their faces, no offense, and then making themselves more miserable. So it's the food too. If you align yourself with the happy food and the good food that makes you feel good, you're going to feel good too. So those are two major things that we have to get under control. We have to get our food under control. We got to get movement of the body under control, because the medical system does not know. They don't know to tell you anything about nutrition. Okay. Doctors, after 8 years of residency, and maybe some go longer than that, they probably have just a few hours of nutrition. And this is the hard facts, the hard truth. Doctors have to take courses after they graduate, after they become MDs, to learn about nutrition. If they really are truthfully wanting to help people, they have to learn about nutrition and exercise. And unfortunately, some of them don't. And they now there's a quick fix for obesity. They have the stomach surgery. And I have taken care of people who are malnourished because of that surgery, and then they can't eat, you know, and it's just, there's a quick fix for everything. We have to prevent that before we go to the doctor and they give us a quick fix.
Yeah, I think, like you're saying, everyone's looking for the easy, convenient, comfortable route. And you were mentioning about nutrition. You're saying that, you know, once you start to eat aligned with your goal, you're actually going to feel better overall. And that's a little bit different than in the moment feeling bad, having some sort of a food that you know spikes your dopamine, makes you feel better in that moment. That's an ice cream or some sort of a treat that sort of just spikes it a little bit in your brain. You feel a little bit better. Then of course you're going to feel worse after it's done. But it sort of helped you get through that moment of feeling bad by just pumping up the dopamine. But if you were to exercise, if you were to eat more healthily for longer periods of time, it'll naturally happen, and you only have to have that experience of needing to bump yourself back up again.
Right. And I think that clinically they say it takes around 3 weeks. And I always tell the ladies that I work with this. I say, listen, ladies, you're at the age, because I work with mostly over 50, over 40. A lot of them have been through relationship breakups, divorces, trauma, whatever. And I say, you're eating crappy food right now because you're craving it. I get it, right? But you went through a divorce. There's some ladies I work went through a divorce. And I say, do you look at your ex-husband like you want him back? Do you look at your ex-husband and say, oh, he's so attractive? Or do you look at your ex-husband and say, what the heck was I seeing in him? right? Because years go by, even a year go by, most ladies look at their ex-husband and say, what the heck was I seeing in that person? I'm not even attracted to him anymore. I could care less that he's in my life. And I say, it's the same thing with food. But you have to do the breakup because the divorce sucked, right? And they say, yeah, the divorce was a nightmare, was horrible. Yeah, but you got through it, right? Yes, I got through it. Okay, now you look at your ex-husband like you don't even care about him anymore, right? And they say, yes. And I say, okay, so that's how it's going to be with your crappy food. You got to divorce your crappy food. You got to go through all the crap about, saying goodbye to it. You're going to be angry, sad, and then you'll surrender, and then you'll be happy. And then you look at that crappy food like you're not attracted to it. You don't want it anymore. I can't even believe I ate it for so long. And that's exactly how it is. After about 3 weeks, you lose that dopamine hit. Your tongue changes the senses and the taste, and you don't crave the crappy sweets that you craved before, because you allowed that time to go through sometimes it's a nightmare, right, of letting go and divorcing. I always tell them, you're going to divorce the food.
I like that metaphor. And I think part of what I can understand, that part of your experience as a nurse has really informed this, I think, because maybe not all trainers have had that experience yet, and I've understood some of the stuff that you understand. So I do want to dive into that a little bit more. How has the experience in the medical system and taking care of people who maybe didn't take care of themselves, how does that influence your approach as a coach?
Right. Well, I'll give you an example. So one time I took care of this older woman. She was probably in her 40s, and she needed a simple procedure. She had to have her gallbladder removed, and which is right now it's a simple procedure, right? But because she was deconditioned, because she was a smoker and she ate crappy food, her body couldn't handle the procedure. She ended up in the ICU and she almost died. So it is so imperative that people understand how important diet is and lifestyle, because you never know when you're going to have an emergency situation. And if you're not prepared, if your body's not physically prepared for it, it's not going to tolerate the traumatic events of a surgery. I can assure you, you will end up in the ICU. Now, let me give you one other example. People who don't strength train have weak bones. So this is a true story. I have a client, she's probably 50 something. And, she was inspired by all my Facebook posts and everything that I see. She says, I want to strength train. Okay, fine. So she started 2 weeks, she started strength training, and she has walked. She's a hiker. So she walks 3 times a week, somewhere near a trail where she lives. She fell and she broke her wrist, and it was a pretty severe break. But I can tell you it was because she was deconditioned. She didn't have the bone strength to catch her in that fall. So her bones snapped because she didn't have the muscle strength. Because when you have strong muscles, you have strong bones. So every single person that I've met throughout my way in the medical system has come to me because they've been sick, right? And they've been sick because most of them of lifestyle. So we have to change that. So my approach is just you gotta get right with your food. You have to strength train. And I tell my ladies over 40, for the next 50 years of your life, 50, 60 years, you have to strength train, because the last thing you want to do is end up in the medical system with a broken hip and sepsis or blood infection, and you can't get out of there because they're not going to let you out.
And it's like a snowball effect. You go in for something so nonchalant, or maybe not such a serious thing, and then you end up leaving with something a little bit more serious because you were not prepared for it. And that's very much what fitness is being almost over prepared for life. So if anything ever happens to you, you have a bigger bank account to deplete, if you want to call it that, or you're able to just bounce back or not even get injured in the first place. So I think the whole idea about fitness is, maybe you want to look good, but in the end, really, it's about having a higher quality of life. And there's no better way than having an improved lifestyle approach. And that's actually what I want you to talk about now. And tell us about maybe the 4 or 5 key things that you wish that all the people that are out there in the world, and maybe even some of your clients, would do more regularly.
I want them to believe in themselves, because people actually don't believe in themselves. That's why they're not putting the work forward. You have to start with yourself. You got to get serious with yourself. You got to push away the negative thoughts, push away the negative people. You got to stop hanging with the buddies and the friends who don't support your new health journey, because they're holding you back, and know that you can do it. You can, because there is a strength within you that is unbreakable, absolutely unbreakable. And when you get a hold of that, nothing holds you back. And this is what I want for everybody. I want them to feel great. I want them to feel amazing. I want them to look amazing. You just know that if you think you need support, reach out to get somebody like a coach, right? Go walk into a gym. Don't be intimidated, but you have to get right with your fitness and with your proper nutrition, guys. And don't go to the doctor for advice. I'm sorry. The doctor doesn't give you good advice. I just have to stress that enough. Don't go to the doctor. And because if you have chest pain, if you go there and you have high blood pressure because you're nervous, they're going to put you on a pill. Know that you have the power to say no to your medical doctor. The power lies within you. It does not lie within the so-called authority. You have the power to make the decision. So it's get right with your food, get right with your body movements, and make sure that if you're going to see a doctor, know that you don't have to follow their protocol, because it's just a protocol. You can say no.
And so let's say, they're fostering this unbreakable spirit. They are trying to make some changes with their life. Are there specific targets that you want them to be hitting? Like, let's say with nutrition or activity, is there something, in the back of your mind, like, okay, I want everyone to be able to strength train this many times. I want everyone to walk this much. I want everyone to eat a little bit more this way. Like, are there some, like, I guess, guidelines that you have them follow for you?
Yeah. So initially I have them track their food for 5 days, because I need to see what they're doing. And it really depends on what they're doing. If I have someone that's going to McDonald's and Dunkin' Donuts every day, I'm like, okay, I can't give you a macronutrient breakdown. You're going to fail. Exactly. So I just tell them what to eat, because we're lacking fiber, and the sodium content in people's food is out of this world. They're going to end with heart disease. Okay. So then what I do with them is I drop the macronutrient breakdown for somebody who is extremely poor eater, and I'll give them what's called like a 14-day. I call it a detox, because people love that word. Yes. But really what it is, it's more vegetables and more fruits. It's massive salads, and I make them have a smoothie bowl, carrot juice, and they follow that for 14 days. And I'm telling you, they feel amazing. They lose weight, they feel great, and they continue on that journey. And then after that, I say, okay, now it's time. You kind of figured it out. Let's do your macronutrient breakdown. Yes. We're going to keep these foods in. But can I just tell you that if I don't use the word detox, it's not pretty. People don't like it. They don't want to do it. So right? I just had to say it's a 14-day detox, because this is what I'm seeing. We got to get out the processed food. This is what you're going to do. And so, but somebody who, like, I have someone now who is she's a Kona triathlete. Yeah. She can do a macronutrient breakdown, no problem, because she has that strong willpower, and she has that mindset. So, I always look at protein. Is your protein adequate enough? Is your fat adequate enough? Because when you're menopausal, we need fats, because it affects our hormones if we're too low fat. Would you believe some ladies are too low fat? So, and it really depends on where people are starting from when it comes to fitness. I have ladies that have never worked out a day in their life. And then I have, the triathlete, which is probably my favorite type of person to work with. But I also love people who are beginners, because I have so much to offer them, and they're like a sponge, so it's like that two different ends of the spectrum. I know that the Kona triathlete is going to do what I tell her, because she's got the willpower. But the one that's brand new, I love coaching and teaching, because everything's new to them, and they are excited. So that's how I approach the people that I work with. It is very personal. for each one. I do not ever do cookie cutter anything. It
Mhm.
really is very individual.
Mhm. I like the point that you made about the detox. It's something I talk about often. It's like, I don't like the word, I don't like it out there, but because it's so out there, because people are so attracted to it, this is exactly what you're using. You're almost trying to get them to buy in and understand before you can help them change, right? And in many ways,
Exactly.
a detox in the way you're using it is, okay, instead of doing these things that are going to detoxify your body, you're eliminating all these toxins. You're eliminating the alcohol, you're eliminating the
Right.
processed food. So in a way, yeah, you're helping the body detox on its own, because you're eliminating all the things that were causing the toxins and the problems in the first place.
Yeah. So let me make it loud and clear. We have organs that detoxify us
Yeah.
every day of our lives,
Yeah.
right? We have a liver, we have kidneys, and they're constantly detoxifying us every single day. I mean, what do you think it is when you pee?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a detoxification of all the liquid that we put in our bodies. And when we go to the bathroom every day, as long as everything's functioning properly, that's a detox, right? Your body's naturally detox. But people love the word detox. They think it's like a miracle cure. So you have to call it that to get people
Mm-hmm.
on board. Because if
Yeah.
I said, oh, this is all fruit and vegetables for 2 weeks, they'd be like,
Nah.
oh, I can't do that.
Mhm. It's it's interesting. I saw this clip of my 600-pound life, and the person was talking, saying that they're a picky eater and they don't eat vegetables. And the doctor was very like frank about it, and he had said, yeah, that's probably the issue. You're having all these foods that you're like, and you're calling yourself a picky eater, but in the end, you're not really. You're just not. You're not having the foods that you need to fuel your body, and instead, you're having these things that make you feel better.
Exactly right. And it does make people feel better, and not only physically but mentally and
Mm-hmm.
spiritually and soulfully. And they wake up and they look at themselves like they have something to look forward to. You know, it's a new life for them. It opens doors for new opportunities for them just because they're on this detox, you know, because
Mm-hmm.
it's their viewpoint. It's the
Mm-hmm.
viewpoint that makes them change. And then after that, they say, oh, I think I want to continue this. All right, this is great. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and it really does change people's mindsets and people's way of living. And that's why I love to be part of this and coaching women. And I couldn't do it in the medical field. I'm telling you,
Mm-hmm.
you can't do this in the medical field. If you're in the hospital,
It's
you got
almost
the
too late.
crappy food,
Yeah.
you know, and you walk in a hospital, they got the Dunkin' Donuts, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and the food they're delivering to the patients is just disgusting. I have to be honest. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and sure, and it is not heart healthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It's horrible.
it's tough. I mean, they're in a situation where I guess they're trying to decide what's the worst case scenario, right? And like someone is in there because something happened already, right? It's almost like they decide, what's this? It's not gonna make it any worse, right? In reality, though, it's this built up effect of the way that people have been eating and all and the such that it's caused the problem anyway, right? So I'm glad that you've really become an advocate for this, and now you're sort of on the prevention side of things as opposed
Yes.
to the reaction and maybe the ill-informed reaction in some cases. But I think that that really has that ability to positively influence people, get them to make the changes before it's necessary to enter the system, which is a megalithic. It's a big system, and it's a lot of money driven decisions in that whole process.
Right. Yeah, and that's the sad part. You know, we don't have to get too much into that because I want you to be able to keep your podcast. But what is interesting in my life, and I started to realize it because I was in the hospital my whole career. But the past 8 years before I left, I was in people's homes. So
Mm-hmm.
you really get to see how people live in their homes and what they eat. Because you walk in, you have to wash your hands, you use the kitchen sink, and then you see all the crappy food around you. Like, oh my gosh, no wonder why they're sick. But this used to be my my routine. I would teach a 5:30 class in the morning because I was a group X instructor forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I would get my workout in. But during my 5:30 class, I'd be pumping everybody. 10 more squats. Yeah, let's go. 10 more squats, right? And everybody's excited and they're healthy and they're fit. And then I would go work out. Then I would go to see patients in their home, and they're all victims.
Mm-hmm.
They're all victims. They're all sick. they're not doing what they should be doing. They're following their doctor's orders, who are just saying, just stay in bed, don't move, don't eat right. They're not giving them any instruction on food. And it occurred to me that, like, oh my gosh, I've been doing this for 8 years now and nothing is changing. But the people at the gym who are taking full responsibility for their health, showing up at a 5:30 in the morning class, right? But then you go to the medical system, and I hate to tell you, most of the people are victims of the medical system because they are waiting to be told what to do next. And we have to change that mindset.
Yes.
We have to change that mindset to, you have the power, you are the authority over your life. Nobody else, not even a medical doctor.
Yeah, they can.
I just want to mention one thing before we move on. So people want to stay with their doctors because they think, well, I've been with him so long, he knows me or she knows me. They don't. They don't remember you. Like, they probably remember your name and a picture of your face, but they have to look back in their computers to figure, oh, wait a minute, what do you do? Because I have talked to thousands of doctors about their patients. They're like, all right, well, what is it? Who is this again? And let me look in my computer. Oh, yeah. They have to have a summary before they give you their answer because they forget. So people say, well, I love my doctor, he knows me, I've been there forever. No, they don't. Like, wake up, people. Your doctor sees hundreds of people's. He doesn't remember you. You know, so it's your responsibility, not your doctor's.
Yeah, if you're not happy with your care, doesn't matter the fact that you've been with that person for a while. This is just like any other relationship in life. Your accountant is no longer doing the right job for you. Your lawyer is not doing the right job for you anymore. It's the same thing. You go and find someone that lines up and is helping you to get to where you want to be. And if you want to find a more proactive doctor, that's the route to go, maybe. And then you'll be able to have a lifestyle that really feeds into itself and positively impacts you and helps you to stay away from having to need some of the medical interventions that sometimes a little bit risky or maybe are not the right approach necessarily.
Right. So that brings me to another point, is that if you're not happy with your caregiver or your doctor, you can get another one. You can interview doctor after doctor until you're happy, because there are some good ones out there, but you just have to put the time and the effort in to find that doctor. So just because your insurance company assigned you a doctor doesn't mean you have to keep them. You know, if you don't like that doctor, you can keep interviewing until you find the one that is you're going to work with as a team. You know, as a team, and you should never feel bullied by a doctor because you don't want to do what they are telling you to do. Find that one doctor that is going to appreciate you, respect you, and honor your wishes. It's so important that people don't understand that.
Yeah, I think it's important that you find your team, and that's really what having a coach is about. Having somebody on your team helping you to push you to do things maybe you weren't going to do before or that you need to do. And I can imagine that the demographic you work with, a lot of them, you're introducing them into strength training and such. Like, tell me about the experience of getting people to strength train, and like what do you like to see people do? Like, tell me a little bit about that.
I can tell you that I can take what we call general population and train them with I'm not going to call it a bodybuilding routine, but you know, I can do overhead press. We'll slowly do deadlifts. I can slowly ease their way into squats. They are excited and they get wicked strong.
Yes.
And wicked happy. And these are women who've never walked into a gym before, who have no idea what the equipment is. And I work with them in my in-person business, right? And they are excited. So somebody just, she's 40 something, overhead press dumbbells, 40 pounds.
Wow.
That's pretty impressive.
Yes.
Right? And she's like standing up, giving me high fives, and she's so excited. She's doing jumping jacks, and she's so happy. Do you know what I mean? So that strength training empowers you as an individual. You know, and strength training makes you feel like Wonder Woman. It makes you feel amazing because you can see how strong you get if you're a brand new lifter. You get strong each time you come, and you feel so good. And I love to see that. You know, and that is one of my passions, is strength training, and bring strength training into women's lives, or over the age of 40, to help them feel empowered, because as you know, it's not just done in the gym. You exude confidence when you get strong. You just, and people look at you a different way because you have this confidence, because you're like, I just went to the gym and I overhead pressed 40 pounds, but you're not going to tell anybody, but you're like, you just feel so good all day, you know, and I love supporting that. I love being part of that. It makes me excited to come to work in my in-person business and my online business. I have people do strength training and they're making gains all the time. It's awesome.
Yeah. And the strength training, it really translates into other areas of life. Confidence is a big one. Being able to handle things in your life, like not having to call somebody to help you with the groceries, or being able to pick up your grandchild, or be able to go up a set of stairs and not feel winded. These are all things that are coming out of challenging yourself and getting a little bit uncomfortable at the gym, but there's immediate rewards for this. And this has tenfold effect on your mood, your confidence, your ability to tackle things in life. So I see nothing greater than empowering women with strength training.
It is awesome. You know, if there's a day that goes by and they're not sore, they almost get sad. They're like, oh, I really wasn't sore yesterday. I'm like, oh, that's a good thing.
Yeah, you're getting used to it. It's good.
Acting.
Yes. Now, Erin, is there something that we haven't spoken about yet that you feel is important to bring up?
I don't think there's anything that I haven't spoken about that we haven't brought up, but I just want to educate people on the medical system. Know that you have the power to make the decisions. You have the power to make the decisions, and you can absolutely say no to the protocol that they put in front of you, and it is okay.
So that leads us to our final question then. Let's say somebody's listening to this episode, like, I really like Erin's energy. I really like her intensity. I really want to work with somebody like Erin. What do you wish that would foster it? Like, what sort of things do you want them to understand before they even reach out to you? So you're almost indirectly telling them, this is what you need to be prepared for before you even get started. Otherwise, you're not going to get the most out of it. So what's your words of wisdom to somebody who's sort of ramping up to it?
So if you want to work with me, know that I am the most caring, compassionate, loving person who will support you through your entire journey. But you got to put the work in. If you don't put the work in, you're not going to like me. And I'm not saying because I'm going to turn into this mean person, but I'm going to call you out. And if you're not ready to be called out because you're not putting the work in, you're going to get sensitive. You're going to take it personal, and you have to be strong enough to handle me saying, hey, the reason why you didn't lose weight this week is because you didn't track your calories, or you didn't hit your macros, or you missed your workout. You have to be prepared for that. So I'm loving, caring, compassionate just as much as I am a tough coach.
I love that. I love the spirit you brought, the unbreakable spirit you brought, the ethos that you are in control. You have the power. Take responsibility. I really like that energy that you brought today. Thank you for sharing your time, your expertise. Guys, check out the show notes. You're going to be able to see a link to see Erin on Facebook. And you're on Instagram as well?
I'm on Instagram at The Ethical Nurse.
Okay, and you'll be able to see her there as well. So reach out if you guys are interested. But thanks again, Erin, for taking your time to come on to the Insight Change podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was fun.